Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode. When you ask Brad Meck what his best thing to do is, he will answer right away: fishing. He always does it when he has the chance because he loves it. But over time, the amount of work he had to do grew and took up all of his time. Still, the man was able to sneak in some time for his favorite sport. This one of a kind event happened while he was swimming. He went fishing by himself at James Creek, Raystown Lake, on a weekend in May. He thought it would be the same old thing, but what he got was completely different. The man was fishing in his boat when he saw a log coming toward him. At first, the man didn't think much of it, but when he realized that the thing floating toward him wasn't a log, his heart skipped a beat. Brad likes to fish in his spare time. He first went fishing with his dad when he was a kid. He would fish with his friends now that he lived away from his parents. But one day he chose to fish by himself. During his trip, he had no idea that it would make him popular very quickly. The day in question, he went fishing by himself. That May day was pretty cold. It was sunny and warm, which made it a great day for fishing. Brad went to the same lake again, but this time he found a new spot. And because he liked trying new things, he chose to fish in a different place. Brad says that the best thing about the place is that it can help you forget about the outside world. He learned for the first time how peaceful and lovely this place was. When we came with friends, it was a whole different experience. He saw a lot of new things about the place that day. Brad had been considering ways to spend some time by himself for a long time. Most of the time, the man was too busy with work to talk to anyone. So, when he had some free time, he chose to go fishing because it helped him relax the most. Raystown Lake is Pennsylvania's biggest lake. A man-made pond has won over the hearts of visitors, even though it is man-made. It is a calm spot. It's interesting that the lake's coast goes on for 118 miles, but only 4% of it is built on, which makes it look even more beautiful. People who love nature will love this place because it's great for getting lost in nature. If you asked Brad, that day was full of more shocking realizations for him. There was no way to call from that spot. The lake wasn't close to any buildings because it was out in the middle of nowhere. That was fine with him because he wanted to step away from everything for a while. Everyone had a normal day except Brad Meck. He had no idea how the fishing trip would change his life forever. He didn't know that, so he got his things together and went to the lake. He got up early that morning to make all the plans that were needed. He couldn't wait to begin the trip. He cleaned his car and put his bag in the back seat. The man put on his favorite music and drove toward the lake. So far, he hadn't felt anything strange. He took the fishing rod out of his hand and got ready to start the business. The man thought the day would be quiet. He threw the line into the water and waited for it to move. He didn't know how many fish he would catch because it was his first time fishing there. He also liked fishing because he could ride the boat. He also loved going on boats. The man picked out his best boat and sailed toward the middle of the lake. He was really having a great time. Things would only get worse from here on out. He thought the place wasn't good for fishing after a while because he didn't catch anything. In spite of this, he kept looking for the fish. Was he going to catch something? Well, he was wrong about everything he thought, because he caught something amazing. He saw something moving in the water while he was waiting for the fish to be caught. At first, he didn't think much about it because he thought the thing was a log. There were a lot of trees nearby, and this log may have come off one of them. But as the log got closer, he got the feeling that something wasn't right. On the water, the brown log was moving toward him. He turned his attention back to his fishing rod. So far, the man hadn't caught any fish. Then his mind went back to the log again as he tried to figure out what was going on. Well, the log stood out in the lake like a sore thumb. On clear, clean, blue water, it was the only thing floating there. It was clear that the log was drawing his attention. He pulled his phone out of his pocket and took a picture of the log. The blue water made it look beautiful. And when the man got close enough to see the log, his heart was in his mouth. It wasn't a log. The man kept looking at the thing as if it were not real. His hands felt like they were dead. It was scary that the man was by himself there. No one else was in sight. The strange thing found its way to his boat. When Brad lost his grip on the rod, he didn't notice. He did, however, get his hand back on it. He was thinking about what to do, but it was clear that he had run out of options. Brad had to take pictures of the thing because he knew his friends wouldn't believe him if he told them the story without proof. He quickly started taking pictures of the thing. His heart was still beating fast because he still didn't know for sure what he thought. I saw it coming toward me. I thought it was just a beaver or something, the man said. His second guess was also wrong. The man was looking at something that seemed impossible. Brad went on, it got closer, and I looked at it and thought, holy crap. It was true, there was a wild animal bobbing in the water. When the animal stretched his head up, all of his worries went away. Brad felt like he had a current going through him. He saw the thing from just a few meters away and knew it was a bear cub. The bear looked really worn out. It was too little to swim. The cub had lived until now, even though it was very old. In addition, the cub couldn't keep his head above water. It stuck its arms and legs in the water to get to the boat. What should a person do in this kind of situation? Wildlife experts say that if someone runs into a wild animal, they should leave it alone and take a step back. After that, they should call professionals. In this case, though, things were very different. Start with the fact that Brad's phone was losing its network. Second, Cub's life could have been lost with just a minute of delay. The cub was very close to drowning. He was not going to leave the cub to its own devices. To save the helpless animal, he had to think quickly. He told me the cub was going to drown if I didn't help it. He quickly saw that he only had one choice. Getting the cub out by hand was the only way for him to save it. Well, Brad was taking a lot of risks. What will happen if the cub bites him? But there was also nothing else that could be done. That's why he chose to hide his fear. The man put his hands out to the water to help the cub get in. Just as I was about to grab it, I told it, "Please don't bite me." The man wanted to save the cub, but he didn't want to get into any problems. The man probably had no idea that his fishing trip would turn into a mission to save someone. The man put his life at risk to save the bear cub, even though there were many ways he could have died. It's possible that the bear cub could have hurt him. The first part was finished. He was able to pull the wet bear to the boat. Thank goodness, Brad was not hurt. It was very calm. That didn't mean it was mean to me. The bear cub might not have been able to do anything because it was too tired, or it might have known that a person was trying to save it. What was he going to do now that he had saved the cub? His phone didn't work because it didn't have a network. Besides that, he had never worked with any kind of animal before. He thought for a while and then came up with a very bad idea. He chose to go back to the wild with the cub where he had come from. But first he had to check on the cub and make sure it was okay. He used a small towel to dry the cub. After that, he led the cub to where he had seen bears swimming. He needs to be found by his mother. The man didn't want to talk to his mother about it, though. I kind of thought maybe the mom swam across first, Brad said. The cub may not have been able to keep up with her and fell behind. While the cub was having trouble in the water, his mother had made it to the land. The man put the cub down on the bank. The cub looked around the trees and then came back around to face Brad. He went on to say, the baby was having a hard time because it was so small. I thought she might be somewhere up on the bank, so that's where I left it, hoping they'd find each other again. He kept looking at Brad with eyes that were getting tired. He seemed to be showing him how grateful he was. After that, the cub began to look for his mom. Brad told her that all he had been thinking about was getting it, helping it, and taking it to shore. After leaving the cub on the ground, Brad took huge steps toward his boat. It made him happy that he didn't have to face Mama Bear because that could have been very bad for him. He felt good about bringing the bear back to safety. The man knew that the Pennsylvania Game Commission had written notes saying that people shouldn't associate with wild animals in any way. He didn't have much time, though, because the cub needed help right away. He went on to help the bear even though he knew how dangerous it was. Well, Brad had a lot of guts to do what he did. The man could have gotten into a lot of problems for leaving the cub alone, but he chose to help him out instead. Besides that, he also took him to the forest. How did you think this story was? Isn't it wonderful? Brad couldn't have thought about what he was going to have to deal with that day before he got up. He chose to help the cub even though he had questions and fears. He must have had the best trip of his life. I'm not sure if it was the best. That's it for today, friends. Please let us know what you think about this story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon for more amazing stories.